Hey y'all, here we are with the Bookly Blessed podcast, and I have a very dear friend of ours joining us today, Kirstin Porter. She has been part of our lives for quite some time. I'm not going to try and make her feel old, but she's been a very dear friend of our daughter Micah's for a lot of her growing up years. I know they finished high school together. And when our daughter Micah graduated from basic training for the Air Force, Kristen came down to Texas with us from Alaska. And then our daughter Micah, when Kirsten graduated from Army basic training, our daughter Micah went out there and was able to cheer her on too. So Kirsten means a great deal to us. Kirsten, I want to tell you first, thank you for being willing to meet with me and discuss today's topic, but also thank you so much for being Micah's dear friend. I'm not going to say y'all didn't have your share of, you know, teenage troubles together, but I'm so glad that Micah had you in her life all these years. And just thank you for always standing by her and always being the one that Micah could rely on and call.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah. So today, Kristen is going to share some things with me about being in probably a more male dominant field of uh, a career field. And she's willing to talk to me because I am clueless about this subject. I've never done it, and Kristen has. And I believe uh, if memory serves correct, Kirsten was probably one of the younger people to do it, and she is a Betty Bad Butt in my eyes. So we'll go with that. Um, so I have mentioned elsewhere that I am writing a new book inspired by our trip this summer, our book tour that we did. So the location, it has been decided that this book, the title of the book is Grand Prize. The location is going to be in Kansas. I don't know how much time Kirsten has spent in Kansas, but that's not what she's talking to me about today. So my main character, the female character in Grand Prize, is a welder by trade, and Kirsten has a lot of background in that and is going to share with me and the audience today about just you know bless her heart, she applied herself to these questions and is going to try and follow my wandering ways. Some of you have had to deal with my wandering questions, and they come like this because I jot them down as I'm writing. And so I apologize if I seem like I'm going down rabbit trails, Kristen.
I'm ready.
Okay. So I want to start with the one, how old were you when you started showing interest in welding?
So my dad was a fabricator growing up and he had his own welding business. So I was always out in the shop helping him with like little side projects and stuff. And I say I really started showing interest once you get to the age that you realize like, oh, like this is kind of cool. I want to learn more about this. So
Uh,
probably like 11 or 12. And then I really got into it when I was 13, 14, and then carried that on.
okay, excellent. All right. And then that's, I guess this is kind of part of that, and you kind of alluded to this, but what made you want to pursue welding as a career?
Probably just the amount of opportunities that open up from having a trade,
Mm-hmm.
like having a trade skill set just opens up so many more doors than being like, oh, I can write papers or I can cash checks or something. I don't know what other people do, but
Right,
trades are a really
right.
good skill set to have. And just the endless opportunities that opened as soon as I put my toe in the water of showing interest, it was like all of these things. I was like, oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I gotta pick one now or do them all. So I tried to do them all.
When you were out in the shop with your dad, I know this wasn't on the list that I gave you to preview, but it just came to my mind when you were talking about being out there when you were little.
Mhm.
Did that kind of make you feel a little closer to him when you were out there in the shop with him?
It did. It was a huge part of like my dad and I's relationship.
It
I'd
was
say
your
that
perfection.
We're very close, and that's one thing that whenever we'd start feeling like distance in between us, he'd be like, "Hey, come out here. You're gonna help me with this project." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Never fought it, but it definitely was a huge bonding moment between me and my dad.
So welding together welded y'all together. That's really
Yes,
cool.
it did.
That's
I
awesome.
like
I
that.
love
I
that so
like
much.
that.
I just got chills. Okay. Um, so then how old were you when you were certified as a welder?
I was 16 or 17 when I was certified by the state of Alaska, and I was the youngest person to be certified in the state of
That is
Alaska. So that was pretty cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I love that. I thought that I was remembering that you were the youngest person in Alaska to ever get certified as a welder,
hmm
and I love that. I think that is so cool. You have a legacy.
It was really heartwarming to like finally get there, and then you're like, "Hey, by the way, you're the
Yeah.
youngest person to do this." And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of nice, little pat on the back."
I'm sorry I didn't put this in the questions, but how long was that certification process?
So a lot of it was college courses that I was taking while I was in high school, and
Uh-huh.
then I'd go to school throughout the day, and then night classes from like 6 to 8 p.m. or something, just to get the credits for like the prerequisites to take the certification.
Mhm.
I think it was probably 3 years in total of just night classes. It could be done quicker, but obviously balancing like high school and jobs and sports and all that stuff, it took me about 3 years to be able to take the cert.
Okay. And then in my book, I will not take that away from you. I will ensure that my character certifies at the same age as you so that I don't take anything away from you. Um, then kind of a convoluted question. I didn't really understand it that much myself. So if you need clarification, just go ahead and stop me right there. But I said, what are the different lanes careers a welder can follow? I'm familiar with underwater welding and shipbuilding. My dad was an underwater welder, and then one of our mutual friends, Randall Kimball, was in shipbuilding, I believe. And then I thought you wanted to work on cars, but I might be wrong.
There was a time that I was planning to go to UTI for automotive welding. So it's
Mhm,
like body work on cars and stuff.
mhm.
And as far as like other careers,
It's,
endless. There's so
yeah,
many.
it's
Just
vast.
small like repair jobs, kind of welding, or you can do like aerospatial welding for like high scale, where you're doing it on like rockets and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Sounds scary, but there's
yeah,
so many careers.
yeah. That's what I was thinking is probably endless. Like if metal needs to be attached to metal, you need
hmm
a welder. Uh, is there anything else that gets welded? Sorry, I'm doing another
Oh, that's
audible
okay.
on you. But like, is metal the only thing that you can weld? Probably a weird question, huh?
I think so.
Okay,
I think that's metal would be the only thing that qualifies as like welding, because anything else you're just like gluing or
right.
yeah.
That makes sense.
I think just metal.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. Um, and then do you do any artistic welding, like art projects?
I don't. I've tried, but
Okay.
one of my mom's friends he's a artist, so he'd do like metal sculptures and stuff, and I went with him for one afternoon just because he's like, "Hey, you're getting into welding. You want to come hang out and do this?" I was like, "Sure."
Mhm.
And I tried to make a sculpture of, I think it was a cow, actually.
Mhm.
And then I realized that I can't make it perfect when it's out of like random pieces of scrap metal. So
Okay.
I learned quickly that I cannot take the artistic route in welding
Because
because
you're
I
a
make sure
perfectionist.
it's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I only asked that because my character is going to do a little bit of artistic welding, so and that's fine. Um, and then what do you love about welding?
I love that there is always room for progression and you can
Mhm,
always get better in it. Or
mhm.
even if you think that you're the best in the type of welding that you're doing, then switch to a different process. So if you're doing like TIG welding, then switch over to MIG welding. And I don't know, there's so many different options and variations of what kind of material you can use and what processes you're using to, I don't know, it's fun. You can learn a lot.
Okay, excellent. It's just kind of like always. moving, kind of living, breathing thing.
And it's always changing too, especially with the newer technologies,
Okay.
constantly learning something.
Um, I I kind of remember a little bit about your MOS in the military. Did you still do a lot of welding in the military?
I did for probably 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
Uh, they were doing the border wall mission. We were out there
Okay.
welding pieces onto the wall.
And then they moved you on to other things.
hmm
Okay. And then what do you hate about welding?
It's hot.
It's hot.
It's hot.
Like the clothes you have to wear and the
That's
helmet.
what
Is
the
that what
helmet
makes
and the
it hot?
gloves and the jacket on top of just the heat coming off of all the metal and everything. It's just a hot job.
Okay, that makes total sense to me. Because I hate being hot to the
hmm
point of, you know how people in Alaska get SAD, the SAD, seasonal affective disorder,
hmm
in winter? I get it in summer. That's how much I hate to be hot. Okay. Um, and then in asking this next one, I just want to preface it. I'm going to say the question first. What are some of the challenges you have faced as a woman in the field? And in saying that, both of us having served in the military too, I get it that yeah, we do still face some challenges, being a woman in the field
hmm
that we have chosen or whatever. But I don't think that it's all that. You know what I mean? Like, um, I guess maybe the flavor of that question is, was it hard for you to get into the welding field as a female?
Okay. I think I understand your question. Um, it wasn't really hard to get into because they're looking for people all the time because it's
Okay.
a very high demand skill.
And they just don't care.
Yeah, exactly. And if statistically, women are better welders than men because we have better hand-eye coordination. So they actually prefer female welders, but it's just harder because there's not as many. So you're
Okay.
almost sought after for being a woman in the field.
Okay.
However, however, the sizes for all of the like welding jackets and the gloves and the helmets, you gotta
Yeah.
special order that stuff because you're so
Especially for
much
you.
smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah. I say that was a big challenge is finding stuff that
That
fit
fits
or just
properly.
making stuff that doesn't fit stay out of your way so you can do what you're doing.
Okay. That, thank you. That's a very good point. Um, I know I told you that you really inspired, oh, guess we have 10 more minutes. This character, but I do want you to understand also that I'm not making her exactly like you. You
Okay.
just inspired a lot of her. So, uh, okay. So, what are some of the common everyday terms that a welder uses frequently? I know I can Google this, but I'd rather hear it from you. Um, and you mentioned a moment ago TIG and MIG welding. I don't know what that means.
So processes is a good term, and
Mhm.
that's where it TIG and MIG and then stick all come into play, and that's like TIG's like more artistic, fancy. You want it like a super delicate, pretty weld, and then MIG's wire feed, so it's kind of just you're sticking stuff together. And
Okay.
then arc welding is more structural and used on like big beams and stuff and thicker metal.
Hmm.
And then another term is fabrication.
Okay.
Everything's being fabricated into taking a plan and like making it into something.
Instead of repairing.
hmm
Okay.
And then
Just stuff like that.
Heat distortion's a big one.
Okay.
You gotta like, it basically means you're planning where your welds where they're gonna go so that you don't heat up one part too much and then it distorts the other side of what you're working on.
Okay.
Those are all the
Okay.
terms I can think of off
Okay.
the top
No,
of
I
my head.
appreciate it. Thank you so much. And then you kind of already alluded to this, but what is the sign of a very talented welder? I've heard the term before, but I can't remember what it is.
I don't know about a specific term that describes like a talented welder. I don't know if there is a specific term, but you can spot a talented welder when they're quiet, and they don't. They're very um, lost for word right now.
Yeah.
Their ego is not huge, for
Okay.
lack of the term that I can't think of right now.
You
But
just let their work speak for themselves
exactly, they're not flaunting their work because they're
because they know
good.
it's
They
good.
know that they're good, and they don't need to prove
Yeah.
themselves. Yeah,
Yeah, because it speaks for itself. Okay.
exactly.
Okay. Um, yeah, that's good. And then would you recommend the field to others? Can a decent living be made doing this job?
I would recommend welding to anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody that has an inkling to do something in the trades or however,
Yeah.
100%. The
Yeah.
doors are always going to be open for welders and electricians and pipe fitters and all the trades, but welding specifically because it is so versatile and you can go anywhere from simple like repair jobs to like aerospatial welding, which is pretty up there. But no, I would
Yeah.
recommend it. And I think a great career, actually, no, a great career can be made out of welding because they're
Right.
always in demand.
Yeah. It's one of those job security things like
Exactly.
something always needs welded. Yeah. Okay. Um, And then I don't know if you noticed that at the bottom there. It's kind of another question though. And I don't know if you know any of this, but I sure don't. My character is in the agricultural industry. Like I said, she lives in Kansas. And then if you know of any common things on a farm that a welder gets called in to fix, all I can think of is a metal gate or grain silo or I don't know, like maybe those discs on their plows. I don't know.
That's a Farming equipment is a huge repair job that
Oh,
welders will get called out there a lot for. I worked on a farm in Delta actually, and I was building buffalo fencing, so it was just all metal fencing that you have to like post into the ground. And then you can build and stuff, whatever you need to make your farm work better.
okay.
Definitely using arc welding because the metal's so thick on like dozers and stuff that you
Okay.
can make the grates and they get repaired a lot.
Okay. Okay. That makes total sense. Well,
Yeah,
thank you for that. I'm glad you do have some farming experience.
a little bit.
That's awesome. I think that's pretty much what I have for today. And gosh, I really, really, really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to educate me on the welding industry and being a girl in it. Um, and, you know, thank you so much. And of course, I will, when this book comes out next year, I will send you a print copy, all signed and everything.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be part of your inspiration, and I
Absolutely.
hope that the rest of the writing goes great.
Well, thank you so much. I am really enjoying writing this one. I think it's going to be a really good book. I actually made myself emotional writing it the other day. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a good book.
I'm excited.
Uh, and I just, again, I love you so much. Thank you so much for being part of our lives and being Micah's friend and, going through all the things with her.
Always. Love you guys too.
All right. Well, I will see you later, hopefully. All right.
Okay.
All right.